This is the Group Chat. In a world that focuses on the individual, we live life in groups. The Group Chat is meant to spark meaningful conversations about meaningful topics. We think in community, talk in community, and thrive in community. Welcome to the Group Chat. Yo, 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 what's up, squirts? It's your boy Telos, and this is the Group Chat where we have meaningful conversations about meaningful topics.
You didn't even give me a chance
I was
to say
about
my
to
name.
throw your name in there, but you were laughing, so I figured I would save it to the end.
Yeah, no, you messed that up.
I am a pro. This is my 30th episode. I have never messed up.
Never lost.
Here we go, because
No
Hannah Beth
L's.
wants me to do this again. Yo, 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 what's up, squirts? My name's Telos.
And I'm HB.
And this is the Group Chat where we have meaningful conversations about meaningful topics. Hi, HB.
Hey, Telos, how are you?
See, but now we lost the momentum of my comment.
Well, that's your fault.
No, you laughed in the middle.
So what? I always laugh in the middle.
Yeah, but that one was a little more of a laugh because it was super funny, wasn't it? What do you think of when you hear the word squirt? I know what you think of. Come on.
What?
Squirt.
What do you think?
On 3. 1, 2, 3.
Finding Nemo.
Yes. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I was
The
like,
little
I feel
turtle,
like that's
the
yeah.
sea turtle.
What
Squirt and
what's
Crush.
I was literally gonna say what's homeboy's name?
Crush.
Crush.
That's who I think that I am on
Oh yeah.
Finding Nemo.
Yeah. I don't. Oh, look at your face. Why are you upset that I rolled my eyes at that comment?
Because that's who I am. Just floating through life, loving life, doing all the crazy fun things. Like going on the, what was that called? EAC, East Australian Current.
Oh, is that they're on?
Mm-hmm.
That just floated them through. And that's a real thing, right?
Yeah.
You don't know if that's true or not.
I sure think it is.
I sure think it is. You sure think it's real. I guess we have to sure find out if it's real.
Certainly think it is. The
Alrighty.
East Australian Current.
East Australian.
What do they say? Fin. Noggin.
Dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, the East Australian Current is a southward western. Seems like there was a better way to say that. A southwestern boundary current that is formed from the south equatorial current crossing the coral
Equatorial?
sea.
I think that's the word you're looking for.
I think you're saying it equity. I'm saying equator.
That's what I was saying. Equator. Equatorial.
Equatorial. Equator.
Yes, you're right. Sorry.
Current crossing the coral
I
sea
stand corrected.
and reaching the eastern coast of Australia from 15 degrees south near the Australian coast. The SEC,
SEC, like the conference?
like the football conference, divides among. This is very boring. Did you know? Speaking of the SEC,
What did that mean with the SEC?
oh, I don't know.
What is the SEC?
I don't know. At around 15 degrees south near the Australian coast, the SEC divides, forming the southward flow of the EAC. I don't know.
East Australian Current.
It must be the
south
What
Egyptian.
There's not Egyptian ocean. Come on.
South
East Australian, south
equatorial.
Yeah, current.
Probably.
You're probably right.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Okay, what
Did
were
you know
you gonna
that the SEC, like the conferences for sports,
changed up?
Well, yes.
Okay.
The SEC didn't though. The Big 10 did. No, the Big 12 did. The Pac-12. Crap. The Big 12 did.
Yes.
Who's Oklahoma? Oklahoma is in the
Big
12 because they're not with Ohio State. Big 10. They're on SEC. Yeah, the Big 12. They changed, but conferences were designed literally just for sports. Did you know that?
No.
In the Ivy League is a sports conference. Did you know that? I listen to a podcast, and like people, the Ivy League is like the best colleges in America, whatever, the Harvards and the Yales and the
Academic.
Columbias and whatever. It's a sport conference.
Ivy League.
Yeah.
So the SEC.
Right.
Ivy League.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Isn't it
You know,
interesting?
I didn't know that different schools could be in different conferences based off of their sports.
Can they?
I'm pretty sure.
Like you can be SEC football but ACC basketball and you're Alabama?
I don't think, maybe not conference. Maybe I'm thinking divisions.
I think you can be
Division.
I think you could probably be divisions.
But
wouldn't
therefore,
make
then
sense
you
to me.
don't play in that conference, though.
Yeah, if you're like a Division 2, you have... I guess that makes sense,
Yeah.
which is still weird.
That's weird to me.
Yeah, can you imagine being like, I go to Alabama I'm on an athletic scholarship at Alabama.
And everyone's like, oh, that's D1.
Yeah, and then you're like, no, I'm a polo player, and ours is D3 because no one watches polo.
Dang. Would you ever play polo?
Water polo or like horse polo?
I was thinking horse. I don't really understand. I don't really know what it is.
I guess I'd try it, but I have no desire to play. To like,
in my head, it's lacrosse on a horse, but I know it's not.
yeah, it's like field hockey on a horse.
Yeah. But that's like lacrosse.
Yeah.
Except lacrosse is not
pretty
on
much,
the field.
not on the ground. I feel like running in field hockey is so bad for your back. Why don't they just make the sticks longer?
What?
Have you seen people run while playing field hockey?
No.
They're literally bent over, like hunched at the back. I'm like, that can't be good for your back.
The lower back. Hit that chiropractor.
Yeah. I don't know. It just seems like they didn't finish the thought with that sport. Just make the stick longer.
If you could play any sport and be great at it.
Soccer.
Why soccer?
The biggest sport in the world. And I think that soccer players are like very cool. Like football players, yes, they're cool. Basketball players are cool. But like if you're a soccer player, you have this swag that a football and basketball player don't, in my opinion. Like baseball, you don't really need any swag. You can just be a 40-year-old dude chewing some dip and being like, I'm going to go on the field and hit a dinger.
Why do you have an accent?
Hit a little dinger. I don't know. But then if you're like playing football, you're probably like Hard Knocks. You came straight from the hood and you're like, "Grr." If you're a basketball player, you're usually just like...
These are stereotypes.
Absolutely. But you're like prideful. But think about it. Am I wrong? You're a 5-star basketball high schooler, right?
That was
all
me.
of them. Rolled my eyes out loud. All of them are typically like too cool for school. Like they always got their hoods up. They're walking around like... You know what I mean? And they're always walking in flops, and for some reason they don't pick their feet up off the ground.
I did.
Everybody did. But why? I don't know. That's the cool thing to do. It's to not care.
There's a lot of running in it.
Yeah, but I'm cool with running.
Okay.
What sport would you choose?
You know, at first I was thinking tennis, but I really like team sports. I like being a part of a team and like achieving something together.
You can
and
do
I know
doubles in tennis.
Yeah, but it's just different, I feel like. You know, I think volleyball would be cool. Sand volleyball. Because I'd be great at it. We won't go there. What are we talking about today?
I usually have a fun question for you that I want to ask. I know we haven't even gotten to our topic yet, but if you could be any mythical or supernatural creature, what would you be?
What? I don't even know those.
Yes,
things.
come on.
Like a unicorn?
Right.
Sure, I'll be a unicorn.
That's so lazy. Is that really your choice?
Lazy. We just talked about being
yeah,
lazy.
we did. Is that your choice?
Give me...
A unicorn?
Sure, yeah. They're fast, I'm sure.
Wow.
What would you be?
Like a phoenix.
Okay.
That's the one that like gets like it dies in its
thing.
ashes and gets reborn from the ashes. It's a firebird.
Okay.
Or I'd be a dragon. Or what's that lion thing with wings? You know what I'm talking about? No.
I think I will know when you say it.
That lion thing with wings. What is that? What's it called? Lion animal
with wings.
With wings is a griffin. A griffin.
There is a roller coaster called the Griffin.
Busch Gardens, right?
Sure. Or Six Flags or something like that.
Something like that.
It's fun.
You'd pick a unicorn?
Yeah, sure. I don't really know
like
mystical.
A fairy.
No, not a fairy. But I don't really know mystical creatures because I don't read or watch that type of stuff.
Like an elf? A Giant.
I was thinking animals when you said that. So elf and giant were nowhere near there.
Yeah. I think I said like creature. I might have said animal. Who knows?
Are you a creature? You're a creature of habit? A creature...
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Yes. I think a creature is something that's created.
Yeah,
So yes,
I would
a
agree.
creature.
So yeah, an elf would be a creature then.
Yep.
I'm going to be a unicorn.
Okay, you gotta ask me again what we're talking about today.
What are we talking about today?
Well, first, gonna go to good old HB drum roll real quick. That's wonderful. Our topic today is how to deal with disappointment.
Were
you disappointed
in this topic?
Were you disappointed when I didn't agree with you being an excellent volleyball player?
Not disappointed, just confused by it.
I was disappointed when you didn't know what a mythical creature was.
I know what a mythical creature is. I just don't really know a lot about them.
You just couldn't name one.
I said a unicorn.
That's okay. Yeah, you're right.
I am
I
right.
concede. There you go. Do you remember the last time you were disappointed?
The last time I was disappointed.
Could be big or small.
Yes.
Mm.
A couple weeks ago, Crumble had Fruity Pebble cookies.
Oh.
And I went to order one to go pick it up.
Yep.
And that joint said sold out.
Ooh.
That's never happened to me before. And so I screenshot it and I sent it to my brother and he said, we were too late. We're too late.
But they always make more, right?
So I didn't know that. That was on like a Wednesday.
Gotcha.
And
so you thought they were sold out for the week?
For the week.
Oh, gotcha.
And so I was very disappointed.
Yeah.
And so then I texted it to one of my best friends and she was like, oh no, HB, like just check back in like an hour. And so that night after church, I pulled up to Crumble. Got me a Fruity Pebble cookie. So that's one that comes to mind.
It's a disappointment.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
What about you?
I was thinking as you were telling your story, probably the most recent disappointment I think you can relate with this. I got a new car in like April, and then my new car, I took it to the shop because the check engine light was on. The shop was like, hey, long story short, whoever redid your X, Y, and Z didn't do it right. And so it's jacking up the whole undercarriage of your car.
Yikes.
And I had to pay an X amount of dollars, which I was very unhappy paying. And they were like, where did you get this? And I was like, I just bought it from the dealership 6 months ago. And they were like, a dealership did this? I was like, yeah. They're like, they did this very wrong. You should go back to the dealership.
That's very annoying.
So I was very disappointed in the dealership.
Did you go back?
I haven't yet because I've been gone.
Do you plan to go back?
Yeah, I have the receipt, and I'm going to go take it to him and be like,
of
hey.
the car, is that what you mean?
I have, wait, what?
The receipt of what?
Of the service that I needed because they didn't do their job right.
Oh.
So, but I've been out of the town.
Out of the town?
Out of the town.
Out on the town or out of the town?
I'm a homebody. I never go out on the town.
You're right.
I don't do anything.
But yet you're extroverted. Yeah, you're
I'm
a
an
confusing
enigma.
person, Telos.
An enigma is a better way to say that, but sure, if you want to hurt my feelings, I guess you could say that too.
Okay.
So that's my disappointment. But here's a question for us real quick. Here's actually a comment, because when we're talking about disappointments, I think it might be good to just talk about what we were disappointed by. And I think when we're going through our life, it's important for us to know, sadly, that disappointments are inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm going to be disappointed probably multiple times by the end of the week.
Yeah.
And it's just going to happen.
Whether it's little or small.
Little or small.
Little.
Yeah. It could be a little or small. I would prefer those two. No big disappointments.
None.
Absolutely.
Zero.
Absolutely.
Big or small.
Yeah. And it's gonna happen. And the more I think about it in terms of like how we deal with things, a majority of our lives, things happen to us. And the reason why they affect us so much, I think, is because we aren't handling disappointments well.
Mm-hmm.
So, in a small way of, they didn't invite me to go see the new movie with them. I'm disappointed. You can handle that well or poorly.
Yeah.
Or in a big way, I wanted to get into that school and I didn't. You can handle that well or poorly. Or a bigger one, I thought I didn't know I was going to lose somebody in the pandemic.
Yeah.
Really big. You can handle that well or poorly. And we're going to be disappointed by life over and over and over again. And I think it's only healthy and good for us to learn to deal with disappointment.
Well.
And because it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a, I was about to get real deep. You know when you're on the beach and you're just like staring out at like the vastness of the ocean?
Only you do that, tell us.
Oh, okay. So when I go to the beach and I stare at the vastness of the ocean, and then you have this idea that's like, as soon as the tide goes out, you know that tide is bringing another wave in. Like
Yeah.
as soon as it drops low, you're like, oh, I have a respite. But that is actually only gaining momentum for another tide to come in. And I think that could be used for good and for bad if you choose to view it that way. But it's essential that we learn to deal with disappointment well and not just try and avoid disappointment, because I think it's just going to set us up for more disappointment if we try and avoid it.
Which I think then sometimes I think disappointment will then turn into like anger.
Oh, absolutely. Right. Yeah.
If you can't just like nip it real quick.
Yeah.
I think disappointment sometimes has to do with like unmet expectations and
Absolutely.
of just like whether those were communicated or not.
Oh, for sure.
And that's, I think, oftentimes like, okay, my crumble, that's I had the expectation they were going to have, and it was not met. Could I have done anything about that? No. So again, that's a small disappointment.
Sure.
Right? Was I mad about it disappointed about it for a second? Yeah, but it's like, okay, well, life goes on. I'm not going to have a little powwow about why I can't have a cookie.
Right.
You know? But I mean, on a bigger scale, yeah, I think a lot of times it's like whatever our expectations were, they were not met. And so therefore I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
And that, I think, which we could go into, but just like the difference in, am I disappointed because my plans didn't happen or whatever it is? Because God's plans always are going to. And so then I think, oh, well, I'm probably just disappointed because it's not my plans didn't pan out.
Oh, sure. And I think it's natural.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
We automatically, whether we do it whether it's conscious or unconscious, you're gonna plan and expect things in life. Like, I expected that my car was gonna make it to work today without the check engine light coming on, and it didn't come on.
Praise God.
That's great. And we probably expect that like the lights are gonna be on in this building.
Yes.
Or that
Wi-Fi is gonna work.
Exactly. So I think there's some healthy expectations for sure. And the word that word right there of expectation, I think helps us deal with disappointment so much healthier. And this is a trivial thing, but if I didn't study for my physics exam and I go into there thinking that I didn't study, but I'm still going to get an A, it's borderline dumb.
Yes.
It's like, I'm not saying it's my fault. What is my fault in that situation because I didn't study? But I'm setting myself up for more disappointment.
Absolutely.
Instead of if I hadn't studied and then I go into the test being like, you know what? I'm not going to get an A. I would love to pass. And then
having a positive attitude, or like not just like going in like, oh man, like angry about it, but like still knowing that like the odds of me passing are slim because I didn't do the work.
Oh, absolutely. So even talking about that, what are some negative ways to deal with disappointment? Because you already mentioned like not getting angry about it.
Yeah.
What are some negative ways when you're disappointed? What is a negative way to respond when life does not treat you like you think that it should treat you?
I think blaming others is not good.
Yeah, facts. I think that's easy to do.
Oh, 100%. I mean, we never want to point the finger at ourselves.
No. Being a victim gains us compassion or pity. And so we're like, no, it's not my fault.
Yeah. So that comes like blaming others, getting angry, or just like popping off on someone else.
Yeah.
Definitely not healthy or necessary.
Yeah. With those things, like when you said like getting angry, popping off, there's this like tactic that I did for acting. And it was
where you go, brr, brr, ma.
All right, High School Musical.
Sharpay.
Yes. No. Ironically, those actually kind of make sense for warming up your voice. So,
but not for disappointment.
Not for disappointment. It's not going to help you there. But whenever I was about to go on stage, or even some of my castmates were about to go on stage, even so, a show would run for multiple weeks, 3 weeks,
Yeah.
right? And so you rehearse for months, you run the show for 3 weeks, you do 30 shows, right?
Oh my goodness.
And so
30?
20, 30, yeah, depends.
Wow. Did you go to class?
Some of them were matinees, which meant that they were during the afternoon. So we do it for high schoolers in the county, right? And so the high schoolers would come to the theater and get to see our show. If it was a matinee, which you'd have like 4 during a run of a show, you would get an excused absence from class because they would see it as like your major, what you were brought to our school to do, you have to do, just like a football game or something.
Interesting. That's a lot of shows.
Oh, yeah. A lot of shows. So in the process of doing a lot of shows, you would think like, oh, the 18th show, you're like, oh, I got this.
Yeah.
And like to an extent, for sure,
Yeah.
you're like, I know exactly what's going to happen. But even sometimes you'd still get nervous. Your show's about to start, and you know literally every second of what's about to happen in that show, and you're still nervous. And what I realized, every time I tried to get rid of the nerves, it never worked. You can't, in my experience, you cannot get rid of nerves, because if we even go back to that physics example, to me, nerves are just potential energy, and it's energy inside of you that has to be directed and has to go somewhere. And so whenever I tried to just stop the energy is like, well, no, if I can't go anywhere, I'm going to go towards your nervousness, towards your anxiety, towards your, what if something goes wrong? And then I started to like try and figure out if I could redirect that nervous energy towards an excited energy. And I say all of that to say, when you're talking about like getting angry after disappointment, you get being disappointed and then having a feeling about it is totally natural.
Yeah.
Now, what you do with that feeling is up to you. You haven't been controlling your feeling or the energy, whatever potential energy is inside of you. And so where it's going is what the Bible will call in like a fleshly or worldly direction, which is anger. But what you can do is you can say, I'm not going to get rid of this energy. I'm not just going to stop being disappointed all of a sudden. So instead of trying to get rid of the energy or letting it go in a negative direction, what if I try and aim this energy that I have into a positive direction? And I think when we just let the disappointment go immediately to anger, it's not necessarily that we're doing something wrong. I just think we're not, like, to use our last episode, I think we're being lazy.
And I think there's a balance to that of, okay, like we're using the examples that we've used are like small disappointments.
Sure.
If it's like a larger disappointment, like you said, like God forbid, you lost someone during COVID.
Yeah.
You may be disappointed or sad about it. But I think I don't want anyone to hear that either of us are saying like, oh, just redirect that disappointment. Like someone died, like don't be sad. Like redirect it. Do some jumping jacks. Like
get a hobby.
Yeah. Like there's definitely a balance in that of okay, like sit in that, but again, like don't allow it to overtake other areas of you or other people.
Yeah, because that when you scale it up, it's really the question. It doesn't become as trivial as I'm gonna run out of gas or fail an exam, which is like ultimately you'll be fine. It could be a horrible situation like that. And so in that, I think that another negative way that we could handle things are like substances. Ignoring is a big one, is that you just act like it didn't happen or you're not concerning yourself with it. And I think that those ways are unhelpful because we aren't ever getting down to what the root of the issue actually is.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, like you're talking about, I think it is well said that it's not just about expectations when it comes to those big things, because it's very healthy and normal to be sad, angry, disappointed at a big life change that's happened.
Yeah.
And so in one of those things, when life does throw you a big curveball, do you have any advice for somebody who's been disappointed? They wanted to get into medical school. They wanted to get into their program. They wanted their family to do X, Y, and Z. They wanted a boyfriend. They whatever. What do you say to somebody who has been really disappointed? And what are they supposed to do?
Yeah. I think it's hard regardless you're putting yourself in someone else's shoes of disappointment, and I don't think anyone just wants to be disappointed,
Probably
at least
not.
I don't. And so if it's like, okay, yeah, they've been in a constant season of disappointment, it's like one punch after the next, after the next, after the next. I think talking to them about just like, are any of the, like, could you have changed any of these? Like going back and seeing like, man, if I had done this, maybe I would not have been disappointed. And not to say like have regrets and stuff like that.
No, but take ownership.
Yes, exactly. And be like, okay, well, was any of this in my control?
Yeah.
And figuring that out.
Sure.
I think yeah.
Yeah.
So there's that piece of it. I think it gets a lot more difficult when it's like, yo, all of this was outside of my control.
Yeah.
And
then being willing to come to terms with that. If that's true, if it was outside of your control, at that point, we don't have to feel guilty.
No.
We don't have to beat ourselves up. We don't have to say what ifs or regrets. And I think at that point for me, one of the biggest things I found is this thought of, and yeah, I think it's helpful, and maybe it could come across as insensitive. I don't think it is, but maybe you could help me. The idea of think about it until it hurts and then think about it some more. And what I mean by that is don't avoid something that's difficult because it really might be necessary. And I think sometimes we can avoid something that's disappointed us and then just try and move past it. But in reality, it hasn't gone anywhere.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that you do that in an unhealthy way in terms of like you've been extremely disappointed and then you're just like, all right, no one talked to me. Give me a week. All I'm going to do is sulk for a week and think about this nonstop.
Yeah.
No, like find some great friends and find, if you're a part of a church, find a community of people, maybe even your pastor who you can talk to. But when you acknowledge something and you don't ignore it, I think it does so much, because if you ignore it, it has not gone away. Mm-hmm. But when you acknowledge it, then at that point you can deal with what's going on.
And I think that can go on the both sides of like whether it is something that like you kind of a disappointment that you brought up upon yourself, acknowledging that, but then also acknowledging it. Yeah, this was out of my control, and not just being like throwing your hands up kind of thing. So I think that's very applicable for both situations, kind of thing.
Yeah, and then I love the emphasis that the scriptures place on endurance too, that we have an opportunity to not just be rescued from the fire, but to be able to sit in the fire. And I think sometimes as Christians, we think God is here to rescue me from all of my fires.
Yeah.
And if you just read the scriptures, that's not always what he does. And he gives you the grace to be able to stay in the fire.
Yeah.
And that it's not something that people want to hear. And I'm not even saying that I like saying it, because when a disappointment comes my way, I'm going to have to read the scriptures and see that for myself. And at the same time, that's a grace that God has given his church to be able to endure something and not just be delivered from something.
Yeah.
And I think an endurance has this quality about it in the Christian walk that has the potential to give you hope when some other people don't have it.
Yeah.
And that truth that you have a grace to endure through something even when life is tough, is really, really beautiful. I think when we think about it in light of what Jesus endured for us.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, this is that was like very serious, but have your parents ever said to you like, I'm not mad at you, I'm just disappointed?
Yes.
The worst. I'd rather them be mad at me.
I'd rather them take my phone, not give them, like, take the door off the hinges, and I don't know. Yes, anything.
Gosh, that would be the worst.
The door off the hinges?
No, I'm just saying that was like the worst.
Oh, I thought you said that would be the worst.
Maybe I did.
Yeah.
But
no, absolutely. Yeah, it's like those things I think all come with life and where we're at. And obviously when you have questions or even topics like this, you're probably going to talk to people who are disappointed currently. And always the interesting thing is, like, I don't know much of anything that is just a blanket statement and can be applied to anything no matter what. And so our statements here might sound a little bit trivial. It's like, hey, endure, manage your expectations, think about it differently, don't get angry. And it's like, for us right now, there's not a huge disappointment going on in my life. And for somebody listening, there might be a huge disappointment going on in their life. And so I say, talk with people like this. And I know we say it always at the end of the podcast, whatever, but this isn't just meant for us to like talk about some fun things that we think are interesting. I hope that this is a model of conversations that hopefully you guys are having wherever you're at. And who knows, they might not necessarily look like the conversations we're having inside of a room with microphones, but they could look like you're on FaceTime with your bro and you're trying to figure out what the heck to do. Mm-hmm. And then you guys are focusing on really what the Word of God says if you're a follower of Jesus.
Because that's what mine looks like.
Oh, yeah.
If I'm not in this room, I'm on FaceTime with my girl, you know?
You're saying, help.
Help me, I'm poor.
No. Help me, I'm
not getting that. Stop.
Oh, no. If you, I will. Everybody, we're about to take a message break because she's about to get...
Our sponsor will be...
If somebody was sponsoring us, who would sponsor us?
Goalie vitamins.
Ugh, no, I don't even need those.
Adidas. Lulu.
Drew House. Lulu, absolutely.
I think actually Lulu.
Lulu, 100%. We're both wearing Lulu right now.
I'm actually
not.
Lulu? No, these are Albion. Albion Fit.
No, I heard you. I'm just saying, ugh.
No, I don't. Some of Lulu's like joggers, I don't really like the women's ones. I don't really like that much.
I can't speak for the women's ones, but these are excellent.
Yeah, but they don't have women's ones like that.
Oh. All right, but these literally probably are like the exact same that you're wearing right now. But just anyway, they do not care about.
Lulu would sponsor us.
They do not care about this conversation.
Lulu, if you're out there.
Do you have any more thoughts about disappointment?
No, I don't. How about you?
Man. Nope.
Cool.
That's all I got. All right, everybody. Make sure that you guys have these conversations wherever you are at. Squirts, you guys are the best. Remember, this is the group chat where we have meaningful conversations about meaningful topics. I'm Telos.
And I'm HB.
Remember to have these conversations wherever you are, because at the group chat, remember, we think in community, talk in community, and thrive in community. Y'all are great. See you later, Squirt. Bye.